Plan Commission members with personal or financial interest in any petitioner's request are required to recuse themselves. The members of the Planning Commission are Kippy Tate, Patrick Moss, Clay McInnes, Cruz Reed, Jerome Moore, Frank Cook, James Reed, and I'm Buddy Hardwick. The members and petitioners requested to speak directly into the microphone. The minutes are recorded for legal purposes, and this is the only way to accurately complete by audio. Tonight we have 8 members present, and it takes 5 to pass a motion. Because we only have 8, which would a normal full board would be 9. If you wish to delay your request, please let us know when your request is announced. Are there any changes that we have?
No changes.
No changes. All right. With that, I'll ask that are there any changes or additions to the minutes from the last meeting? If there are none, motion would be in order.
So moved.
Second.
Okay. Jerome and Kippy? Okay. All those in favor? Okay. Okay, you want to let's call the first item, please?
The first item is presented by Richard Hannon, request to rezone property located on the north side of Woodmere Boulevard, approximately 1,400 feet east of Eastern Boulevard, from R65M to B2.
Mr. Chairman, members of the commission, if you recall, we were here last month and we agreed to hold it off for 1 month. There's been a couple of changes. It was written last time. It had something to do with spot zoning. Planning Commission has realized that that's not spot zoning, so that's been removed from that. I have met with the members of the Woodmere Association, and we're in agreement that if it is rezoned, it would not allow payday or title loans, lounges, supper clubs, tattoo parlors, hookah bars, whatever that is, or any established where a majority of the gross income is from sale of liquor. And that would also include no service stations or gas stations.
Okay, very good. Richard, I apologize to you. I should have asked you to thank you very much. Okay. Any other comment?
None, sir.
Right. Any comments from the Planning Commission?
Yes, I do have a comment, Mr. Chairman. I see where this determination of spot zoning has been removed, and at some point I'd like for the staff to give us a definition of what spot zoning is and what elements changed from the first meeting that we met on this item. That's one request. I'd like to know what is spot zoning. The second request is that there's 6 other rezonings on this agenda tonight, and I don't see where any recommendation from the staff as for the other 6. I don't see a recommendation for those other 6 like I see for this one. So what's so special about this particular rezoning that's not special about the other 6? So the 2 things I'd like to know is what changed, and I'd like to have a recommendation for the other 6.
Would you like me to answer that?
Sure.
Okay. After extensive research on spot zoning, first we came up with one thing. Spot zoning can be determined 2 different ways. This particular piece of property with residential zoning all on the north side, it could be looked at as spot zoning, but there is commercial on the south side.
Okay.
So therefore, it wasn't totally spot zoning. Now, other cases, we have several items on this particular agenda that might be totally enclosed with residential zoning, but they're asking for commercial. That is very obvious spot zoning. But it was determined after the last meeting that maybe the comments didn't need to be on there as to whether or not they were spot zoning. If it's the planning commission's desire to have these comments, they need to instruct us one way or the other.
Well, Mr. Chairman, I am requesting that, obviously not at this meeting, but at any meeting going forward where we have rezoning items on the agenda that the staff does, that they do give us a recommendation based on the definition that Helen gave us. Because right now, this zoning and rezoning business is somewhat arbitrary and is not rooted in anything other than what we think ought to happen, or we respond to the neighborhood. If they come up and oppose it, then we tend to take that route, but we haven't had any kind of direction as it relates to what is spot zoning until now.
And as these other items come up, I'll be glad to look at the sketches and to my best ability, try to give you a thought on whether or not I think professionally it is spot zoning.
But now
In this case, it could be taken either way.
I understand. I'm not necessarily, I'm using this particular item as a launching pad
Right.
going forward.
Right.
Since the
You want
staff,
to put that in the form of a motion? Is that what you want to do?
in just a second, Mr. Chairman, if you don't mind, I am using this item as a launching pad to get staff's recommendation
Right.
based on the definition that you just gave.
Okay.
You see, obviously, we can vote any way we want to, but the definition, what you just gave, now begins to give us a basis to make a decision, not just an arbitrary decision.
Right.
So that's my desire. And I won't worry about it for the remaining items on this agenda, but, Mr. Chairman, if I could, I'd like to make a motion that the staff, at the next meeting and any meetings going forward where there are rezoning items on the agenda, that they provide us with a recommendation.
Is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor? I think that's unanimous.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. I'm sorry, Mr. Cook did not vote. All those again? Is yours again? Opposed, okay, all right, so we have one against, okay? Now, any other comments?
Yes, I have a question about this. I think you said on number one that you had agreed with the neighborhood not to put a service station there.
That's correct.
But on the agenda it says for a gas station.
Sir?
On the agenda still says for a gas station.
Well, that was decided last time that there would not be one there. I don't know how that got on there. It really
That
just-
would be because we did not have the information that you just read to the planning commission.
Okay.
Okay.
When the item was first presented, it was presented for a gas station.
Right.
We do not have a list of the items that he has indicated will not be there.
Okay.
Okay, well, we'll get that in the form of a motion when we
Okay.
get to that. Okay, anybody else, any other comment? Anyone wish to speak for or against this?
Just to clarify real quick,
Yes, sir.
are we gonna have this as a qualified? Are we gonna put the Qs on here?
We're going to,
Okay.
yes, and we're going to get Richard to read it when we get to that,
all right.
to that point. Yes, ma'am, you want to step forward and come up and give your name and address and...
Hi, I'd like to speak against the rezoning permit.
Yes, ma'am, give your
Yeah.
name and address, please, ma'am.
Sure. My name is Bonnie Pham. I am part of the Woodmere Boulevard Petro gas station at 5870 Woodmere Boulevard. So I'm speaking on behalf of my family here that's in parts of the community. So we'd like to oppose the rezoning permit, and there's a couple of reasons why I'd like to outline. The rezoning permit application would greatly affect some of the long-term investments that we've made in our gas station. And so it's from my understanding that zoning laws are in place to assist business owners like ourselves to anticipate how land will be used.
Ma'am, I don't mean to cut you off, but let me ask you one question.
Sure.
Is your only objection to the fact that there is a possibility of it becoming a gas station?
So
Is
one,
that your only objection?
No. My objection here, two objections. Yes, that it could be
All
possibly.
right, you did hear him say that that was not?
Yes.
Okay.
It could potentially be a filling station, but we also oppose it being a commercial spot in the first place because that creates a bit of, it affects some of our long-term investment. So with these zoning laws, we look at these zoning laws, we made this investment 2 years ago, and we said that we had originally thought it was a residential spot. Now that the fact that this rezoning permit application is coming to play, this greatly affected some of our long-term planning, and if we had known that this application was going to come through to turn the residential spot into a commercial spot, I think we would have greatly reconsidered some of our investment in this gas station. I think the other point here is that when talking to parts of the community, there hasn't been a lot of transparency about what this potential spot could be. We always thought it was a residential spot. Some of the neighbors have always thought it was going to become a residential spot. And on Sunday, we started a petition, and after talking through several conversations with the neighborhood, we feel that, one, we want to know a little bit more and have more communications about what this spot is going to be. But the fact is that we have over 50 signatures in just a matter of days. It kind of signals that, one, the community wants more communication about this, but two, they're in support that they want to keep this a residential lot.
Okay. Anything else?
That's it.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. Anyone else wish to speak for or against it? Okay. Motion's in order? Well, we're going to, I'm going to wait. Richard, if you don't mind, come back up there, and I'm going to ask for a motion first, because depending on which way the motion goes, we'll figure out. I'm going to ask you to fill in the blanks for the queuing for the items that you said were not going to go there. But I'm asking, is there a motion for or against? Is there a motion?
What is the property being? There was some discussion about what it was going to be used for. That was the lady was asking that question.
All right, well, all right, you want to read that again, because that we're going to have that in the motion.
I understand, but it
Okay.
was
You want to read that
It
again?
was what it was not going to be. Do you know what it's going to be at this point?
No, sir, I don't, Mr.
You do not
Pickett.
know.
No,
Okay,
sir.
that's the- that
Except,
was-
except we outlined some things that would not be.
Okay, you just outlined, but
Yes,
you
sir,
did not
that-
outline what it would be. I didn't think.
That was in agreement with the Woodmill Homeowners Association.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
do we know what are the allowable uses for the property that he's asking for? And then maybe by deduction, we can determine what's left in that particular designation. In other words, there's a list of things of uses that can go there, and then he'll take some of those off the table, and that will leave the rest of them for the potential uses that I think will satisfy the concerns of the petitioner that came up that opposed it.
I'm not sure I got all the uses he wasn't going to do, but you've got almost any kind of retail that's allowed. Drugstores, jewelry stores, flower stores, sporting goods stores, small dry cleaning, laundry pickup stations, beauty shops, barber shops, shoe repair, office, bank, post office, all similar services. He said no service stations. I don't remember if he said no motels. You could have automobile repair. It's a wide range.
And that's what the reason I was asking that, so that the folk who didn't understand what could go there, now they know what could go there, and if he doesn't take any of those off the list, so to speak, then the remaining uses would be there for his use. Since he is not telling us what he's using it for, the list by deduction would tell the rest of the public what could go there. I don't know if you understand what I'm saying to you. Did you hear what she said could go there? Okay.
You mentioned 50 signatures. Those were all from neighborhood residents?
They need to come back up too, so they can get on the record.
Jimmy, you got any comments on that, being the president of the neighborhood?
I don't hear that well. Again, tell me what
I
she...
said, do you have any comments on that, since you're the president of the Woodmere neighborhood?
Well, some of us on the...
Jimmy, give name and address.
Jimmy Gunn, Woodmere,
Thank you.
been there since '78. When this originally came up as a service station, we were in opposition. We were down here a month ago and stated that, but then we found out it was not going to be a service station. Then we did meet with Mr. Hanna, and we tried to come up with some solution for him to be able to sell his property and develop it, and the new person be able to develop it. And we came up with these exclusions that we got from another shopping center manager that had it in his contract. So we kind of came up with a list of prohibitive businesses that we definitely would not see in there, or like to see in there. And I know they definitely do not want a filling station there, because that would be in direct competition with them, and there's not only their service station, but 3 other service stations right on the Eastern Bypass. That would be an overkill as far as that type of business. But what I'm hearing from them is that they don't want, am I correct, that you do not want it rezoned to light commercial? You want it to stay
Yes, we would like to keep it a residential spot. I think that, as mentioned, on the south side, there are a lot of different commercial spots that are actually still unfilled. And so we don't necessarily believe that another commercial spot would really be beneficial. It may be beneficial to the neighborhood association, but it would create more competition. On top of it not being a filling station, we also firmly believe that it should not be another convenience store or anything that would be, while some of those things on the list are, the prohibitive list are comforting, it's still, the fact is, it's a commercial spot that will be turned from a residential spot. And that's, in terms of the community, is a little bit concerning, because we want to keep it a residential zone.
Ma'am, let me ask you something. If it were, say, a Starbucks coffee, and I know it's not going to be a Starbucks because it's right around the corner, but if it were, and it were on the going to work side of the road,
Sure.
is every use that could be contemplated like that going to be something that would be a detriment to the residents and a detriment to your business?
I think it could be, right? When speaking to, I can't speak on behalf of every single opinion in the community, but certainly when another commercial business does come in, it does create a lot of different disruption in the neighborhood. It could be on the other side of the road, but it also creates more traffic, it creates more cars going back and forth. When we all live in a residence, we want to have some peace and quiet, and there can be some commercial spots, but with every new commercial spot that does come in, we do consider it somewhat a disruption to the neighborhood. And I'm speaking on behalf of myself as a resident, not really much as a business owner.
Okay, so to clarify, in your mind, you can't imagine any kind of commercial use that would actually be something that everybody would enjoy?
I would consider
Because
both pros and
most
cons.
businesses like to aggregate around each other. They
Sure.
feed off each other. There's a symbiotic relationship, and
Sure.
neighborhoods also need places for neighbors to get together. And so
Yep.
that, not every use, I would imagine, would be bad. And it seems to me what the biggest concern that keeps coming up is no one knows what exactly it's going to be. We know now better what it's not going to be.
Sure. And we're open to having that conversation, right? So I think another concern that we had was just the fact that there wasn't a lot of transparency and communication about what it could or could not be. And it seems like there are some more conversations that's coming into play now. But in the future, moving forward, we want to have more of those conversations of, could it possibly be a spot that could benefit everyone, right? But there are pros and cons to this. I do think that any commercial business can be a disruption, but at the same time, depending on what that commercial business, it can unite us as well.
Thank you.
Okay. Is there a motion? I'm going to get him to read it as soon as we get a motion to go forward or not go forward. Is there a motion?
I move to, I'll make the motion with that in mind,
With the qualification.
with the qualifications, yes.
Okay, with what?
With his qualifications. I
To
make
do-
the motion to approve
Okay.
with his qualifications.
Is there a second, subject to reading of those, of the qualifications that we'll put in this? Is there a second?
Second.
Second? Okay. Now, we're going to make the motion to approve, subject to what has been agreed by the Homeowners Association and Mr. Hanna. Would you read those exceptions, please, sir? In the microphone, if you don't mind, Richard.
Automobile filling stations, drive-in eating places, motel, automobile repair, massage parlor, places of amusement, hotels, lounges, tattoo parlors, hookah bars, or any establishment where a majority of the gross income is from the sale of alcohol beverages.
Okay. Does everyone understand the motion?
Mr. Chairman, I do understand the motion. However, I think procedurally, Mr. Reed's motion needs to state that. In other words,
That's what we're doing. That is part of his motion.
I won't be argumentative, but something got second that didn't include what he just said.
Okay.
You see what I'm saying? A motion got seconded,
All right,
but the
you want to
motion.
make your motion with those cues involved.
Can you read those cues off? I mean, or let him.
Do you have them written down where you can bring it up here, Mr. Hanna?
Yeah.
So we can read
You
it,
got-
read it in
let
the
him read-
motion.
Yeah. Or stand here and just tell him every time, tell him every one of them as he comes.
That's what I thought we just did.
You got it.
Okay. In my world, that's what we just did.
I'm sorry.
Is that the one from Earl Martin's?
He's gonna make the motion. Make a motion to approve this item subject to the following exceptions. By the way.
I make a motion to approve with the exception of automobile filling stations, drive-in eating places, motels, automobile repair, massage parlors, any retail or wholesale business or services not specifically restricted herein, places of amusement, assembly, hotels, and outdoor advertising structures, large dry cleaners and laundries, manufacturing incidental to a retail business where articles are sold at retail on the premises not specifically restricted herein, animal clinics, hospitals, kennels, coal yards, rag storing, baling, it in industrial use not specifically permitted, trailer parks. All of that was supposed to be in there, right?
Yes.
And that's it. Tattoo parlors.
I heard about that in the,
Yeah, I
in
don't
the,
see
in the
that.
lounge, where the primary source is.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they can't
tattoo
have a
parlor,
primary
hookah
source
lounges.
of income being out of alcohol sales.
Alcohol sales, correct. Did I miss anything?
Sir?
Did I miss anything?
I don't think so. I think might have had some that I didn't think of in the beginning because we never figured a coal yard would be there.
Okay.
Now, does everyone understand the motion?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Okay. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, there is a second. Clay, second. All those in favor? All those opposed? Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, gentlemen.
Mr. Chairman, before we go to the next item, since we do have an abundance of rezoning items tonight, I had something in my mind that the city has hired a long-range planner. Is that right? To get all these issues understood and redo the outdated zoning maps?
You're talking about the city hired a consultant to do a
A consultant,
comprehensive
yes.
plan?
Do a long-range plan, right?
Yes,
And at some point, that will produce a more modern zoning,
plan.
land use plan, correct?
right.
Do we know when that's going to be ready?
It's going to take at least 2 years.
So that's 2 years out
At
before
least
we'll
2
actually have that
Right.
plan from the consultant.
Right,
So
they have
we-
just gotten started within the last several months.
Gotcha. Okay. Thank you.
Okay, second
Mr.
item,
Chairman,
please.
Mr. Chairman, we're going to need that piece of paper to go with our letter, please.
It's right here.
Go ahead, Penny.
All right, the second item is presented by Don Stansel, public hearing for development plan for a new building to be located at 5941 Monticello Drive in the B2 district.
Good afternoon. My name is Larry Sumlin, and I'm representing Don Stansel. He had to be in Houston, Texas with his wife in emergency surgery. So he asked me to come down here and represent him for this process. The Eagleton Group is the one, I'm the GC that's building the property for him. And if anybody's got any questions concerning it.
Just give us an overall description of what it is and what's
It's a
going
single-story wood frame structure with brick exterior, standard asphalt shingle roof, and it's a hair salon.
Okay. Any questions from the planning commission? Any comments or questions?
Is this the floor plan that I'm looking at for the hair salon with all the
Yes, sir.
individual offices?
Yeah, that's each hair salon booth.
That's, okay. Oh, those are booths, those don't go all the way to the ceiling?
Some of the walls will, but not
Okay.
all.
All right, thank you.
Okay, anyone else? Anyone wish to speak for or against it? If not, this is a development plan.
Public
No-
hearing has been held.
no- And the public hearing has been held on this.
The next item is presented
Thank
by
you, Larry.
Thank you.
Goodwin Mills and K Wood, request final approval of Park Lake Plat Number 6, located at 6612 and 6616 Rockledge Road in a PUD district.
My name is Judy Jones with Goodwin Mills and Kaywood, and these are 2 lots that are remaining within this plat of Park Lake. And originally, when it was platted, it was all platted with 25-foot drainage easement. All the houses were built with it not being a problem. However, the last 2 lots, it's, as you can see, it's right here in this little cul-de-sac, has created a problem meeting the setback guidelines and the building square footage. So we need to reduce that to the 15-foot, which was originally approved in the master plan but did not get changed on the plat.
Okay, any comments from the planning commission? Anyone wishing to speak for or against this? If not, a motion's in order.
Move to approve.
Second.
All those in favor? Thank you, Judy.
Thank you.
The next item on the agenda is presented by Professional Engineering Consultants. Request final approval of Easter Seals of Alabama Incorporated Plat Number 1, located on the north side of East South Boulevard in the east end of Normandy Drive in the O2 district.
My name is Steve Green with Professional Engineering Consultants. We're representing Alabama Easter Seals. Easter Seals is presently constructing a new facility on Lot A2, which is the northernmost lot of this replat. When that facility is completed, they'll move out of the buildings that they're presently occupying on A1. And I understand at some point in the future, those buildings will be demolished. So we're asking for the approval of the plat.
Mr. Steve, where is the building actually going to fit on this, on lot 2? How you going?
Well, it's on the northwest corner,
Yeah, I
backs
know,
up to the drainage ditch.
but I mean, when I look in here, it's sitting right in the center is the drainage, the 10-foot sanitary sewer and all that.
All right,
I'm
it's
just trying
it's just to the north of those easements and to the west,
The building itself.
yes. It occupies all of that space.
Okay.
I guess there's no future plan for Powerdale to come through there, is there?
No, sir.
Okay, any other comments or questions from the Planning Commission? Anyone wish to speak for or against this? If not, a motion's in order.
Move to approve.
Second.
Move to approve with a second. All those in favor? Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
The next item is presented by Pilgreen Engineering. Request final approval of TBS Plat Number 1 located at 87 and 91 Fleetwood Drive in the R65S district.
I'm Pep Pilgreen with Pilgreen Engineering. This is a replat of 2 lots into one. The idea being to be able to build an accessory structure. We can't build it on a lot without a house, and there's a house on one lot. He lives in the house, but the code doesn't allow us to have an accessory structure unless it's on an occupied lot. So we've gotten approval from the Board of Adjustment to build what we're going to build. We just need to get the plat done.
Okay. Any questions, comments from the Planning Commission?
What is the accessory structure? Like a shed?
Yes.
Thank you. I've got 2. You never have
Okay.
enough.
Anyone wish to speak for or against it? Not, a motion's in order.
Move to approve.
Move to approve. Second. Is there a second?
Second.
There's a motion and a second. All those in favor? Thank you, Pip.
The next item is presented by Pilgreen Engineering. Request final approval of Liberty Court Plat Number 1 located on the east side of Edgar D. Nixon Avenue, approximately 250 feet north of Moreland Road in the R65M district.
I'm Pep Pilgreen again. This plat is kind of an extension of the stuff that the city did on Liberty Street west of E.D. Nixon. It consists of 2 lots. They anticipate building townhomes there.
Townhomes for sale or lease, Pep?
These would be for lease, I think.
Okay. And it's still gonna have multifamily zoning on all that.
Yes.
It's going,
Yeah.
okay.
And it's 2 lots. Just the way the system's set up with water and sewer, you can't have individual lots with, they don't want individual lots, then you got to have individual meters, and there are a lot of things that went into it, but we ended up with just 2 lots. It's in essence 1 lot for townhouses.
Okay. Any comments or questions? Planning Commission. Anyone wish to speak for or against this? Not, a motion's in order. Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't see it. I'm sorry.
It's okay.
There ought to be a three buildings, right?
Sir, if you would, give your name, address, and...
My name is William Hanson. I live at 346 Moreland Road.
All right, sir.
What they gonna do to the back of my house? And I don't care, I just wanna, it's okay. That's all I got to say.
You just asked, just want to know what is it, what effect?
Right, because what it is, that it's so junky back that people start throwing garbage and stuff out there. I've been there 40 years. And they've been throwing stuff back there all this time. So the city, it belongs to the city now, right? Yeah. If they want to close it, clean it up, put a house back there, I don't care. I'm not objecting to that. But they got to build one behind my house, so he's told me that already, so.
Well, it's not a house, it's several.
Yeah, I don't think they built one, because I'm at 346.
Which one is yours?
I'm the second house on Morton Road. I'm the second house off Morton Road. Them house behind my house.
Yeah, there's a house there now behind yours?
No, there's a lot. There's a number of trees and squirrels and possums and stuff. See, that lot, brother, if y'all remember, Miss Lee used to have the Blue Moon Cafe.
Yeah.
Okay. Her lot stop at my back of my house.
So he really doesn't back up to what we're doing.
Speaking that thing, if you would, Pat.
I don't think what he's talking about, his house doesn't back up to where we're developing. He'll still be backing up to a vacant lot.
Is his on the corner there of Moreland and,
No, he's the next one off the corner.
next one over? Okay.
John
excuse
Knight
me,
house
Mr.
behind.
It's on the
Chairman.
north side of Moreland?
Yes, his, John Knight owns that lot between us
They don't
and,
want that one.
Excuse me, what was his last name?
John Knight
No,
your
this gentleman,
Oh, William Hanson, Hanson.
I believe he's backing up to lot 2.
Yeah, that's it.
oh, okay. So, yeah, we are anticipating to build it'd be 4 units there, I think is the plan. But at this stage, they're just building on actually the north side of Liberty Court. We won't even
Next
be on.
to, they were building next to the new school by the field.
Yes, right, that's
You
right.
know, that's the vacant, between the middle school and Motor Road, that's a big field.
Speak into that, if you don't mind, please.
They building next to Lanier School, they play sports and stuff there.
Right.
And that's a vacant lot, I think it's 7 acres in there.
City of Montgomery.
Does that answer your question, sir?
Yeah, I want them to build it. I just want them to hurry and build it for the clean up back there.
Yes, sir.
And y'all say y'all are gonna clean up my lot. That's all I want to know.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
All right, y'all have a nice day.
Thank you, sir. Okay, anyone else wish to speak for or against? Not a motion's in order?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, motion been made and second. All those in favor? All those opposed? Thank you. All right, Pep.
Next item is presented by Pilgreen Engineering, request to rezone 2 acres on the southeast corner of Taylor Road and Halcyon Boulevard from PGH 35 and B2Q to B2.
Yeah, I'm Pep Pilgreen again. You remember we rezoned a portion of this to B2Q. We needed to have a bigger parcel, and we've been kicking around for a couple of months. I know we've been on and off the agenda, but we've been kicking around to make sure we get it like the city wants it, and so now I think we do. We're going to B2.
And it was back to the state wouldn't allow the signage to go there because the lot was too small. Is that still the
Well, that's pretty
premise?
much it. They said the premise was that, you just zoned it for a sign. Well, okay. So
Okay.
we'll zone it B2.
Okay. All right. Any questions, any comments?
I just got a question that may be in the form of a comment. See, in a case like this, I would think this would be spot zoning.
Well, I don't know, there's business 500 foot to the north.
But Pip, I'm not necessarily asking you to defend it. I'm just simply saying based on the definition of spot zoning that we just heard, in my opinion, this may be a spot zoning issue. But I'm not necessarily asking you to defend it. That's why I'm trying to prove my point that we need to have some basis to make these decisions on versus these arbitrary kinds of ideas about what spot zoning is. That's
Well,
all.
I think so. Spot zoning is a tough cookie. If you take Ann Street would still be houses if somebody didn't go in and spot zone something and make something happen. So sometimes the future of the area or the future of the city or the betterment of everybody can be helped by that if you've got a good comprehensive plan.
That's the key. If you got a good what?
A comprehensive plan of where
We
you're
ain't
going.
got a good comprehensive plan, though. That's the point. She said the thing is
Well,
45 years old, plus we won't have another one for 2 years. So when we have to make these decisions in absence of that kind of data, I want something to base my decision on. That's all I'm saying.
Well, I don't think you can just count on, well, I won't discuss that with you on the
I didn't ask you
microphone.
to defend it, but you wanted to keep talking, so I'm telling you what I'm thinking about.
Well, the statement he made is correct. Your spot zoning is based on your comprehensive plan. It states if it follows your comprehensive plan, so your point is taken, Kippy.
Thank you so much. That's why I'm fussing tonight. I'm trying to speed up the 2-year deal, pay the guy extra, the consultant, so we can have something to go by.
It gets back to the same old thing. Nobody's smart enough to plan that far in advance and realize what's going to happen to pieces of property, and then you have to take things into consideration and use some sort of judgment. So
And buddy, I agree with you. The problem is the city of Montgomery is taking too long to address it.
I know your argument. I'm not disagreeing with you. I'm just.
And I hate to keep.
My point is, in 2 years, we're still going to have the same situation.
But you're right.
Well, I hope you have a comprehensive plan to work with as a tool.
Hey, speaking
We
of this
do.
consultant,
We
when
got
will
one
they
now,
make
too,
some
50
kind
years
of
old.
presentation to us about where they're going with their work?
You would have to speak to the planning director about that. I'm not involved in it.
Who's the planning director?
Robert Smith.
Robert Smith? Okay.
He's heading up the consultant and
Yeah,
working
we're
with
going to have to ask him to come down here and talk to us a little bit about that.
Not that it matters, but I'm in that group, so.
Oh, so you know what's going on?
No, I'm there, but I don't know what's, glad nobody else knows what's going on, Kippy. So
Well, the chairman can probably keep you posted on what's going on in the future.
But I am on that board. All right, let's get back to business, y'all. So there's a rezoning. Any comments, any other comments? No. Anyone wish to speak for or against this? Yes, sir.
Hey, I'm John Turner with Lamar Advertising, the billboard company. This has come up obviously several times for rezoning, and you know, we're aware that there's plans for a billboard to go there. That does violate the state's rules. Excuse me. It's spot zoning. I have a couple pages here from the state's sign ordinance. Do I need to hand these out to?
Yeah, John, if you would, and if you don't mind, because I know I got what you sent me a couple of months ago.
Okay.
And I went through it, and you're going to have to tell me specifically what
Sure.
you're talking about. So if you don't mind passing that out, I would appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Have you seen this, Pep? Do you know what he's talking about? I got it. Point being, I want to make sure you get a copy.
Okay.
What's the source of this, first of all?
Pardon?
What is the source of the document that I have? Where did this come from?
This came from the Alabama Department of Transportation. You can get this off their website, or you can pick up a copy at one of their offices.
So this is in the code of Alabama then? The state code?
That's right.
Okay.
Yeah, and the reason.
And we do have.
Okay.
Yeah, and I know, and I know this is a city meeting, but the reason that there's relevance between the state's rules is because this is a state control road, state road number 271. So in order to get a billboard permit, you have to get two permits, one from the state, one from the city. So that's why this information is important for this location. The short of it is this: the state, according to these rules, will not qualify a rezoning such as this to qualify for just a billboard permit. Like y'all were talking about earlier, excuse me, there has to be some plan involved when you rezone. Planning meaning that you put a building with a business there. And in these state's rules, on the first page that has the letter J at the top, the state identifies spot zoning as sham activity. okay? And the rest of that on that page really isn't really relevant to what we're talking about here. Now, on the next page where you see zoning at the top, those 1, 2, 3, 4 items, A, B, C, and D, it basically says that in order for the state to give a billboard permit, a business must be located on this to-be rezoned property for, not 500 or 800 feet away, but on the same property, has to be located there for at least 1 year, a building, a business that's selling something. Now, this is a baseball park, so there's no business there. And, if this was a qualifiable spot, the company I work for and other billboard companies would have come after this a long time ago because it's obviously a good location for a billboard. So that's why we oppose this.
Can
also,
have you got another copy?
Sure.
All right, can you make sure that Pep gets it, and Helen, have you seen the?
Like you, I saw it a couple of months ago, but I do not have a copy.
Can you give her a copy of what or you can have mine, because I've got
John, a quick question.
Yeah.
What's the real reason you're here? Because you obviously, every time somebody appeals for a sign on a public road, which I know is your business.
Sure.
I don't know what radius you go to the lengths that you've gone to, to not allow this one to happen. But what's the real reason that you're here for this particular instance?
Well, the real reason that I'm here, that Sean Lee with Lee Outdoor, who's going to speak also, is here, is because we're all in this same industry. And like I was saying, if this was this is a city-owned property. This is not a privately owned piece of property. And so if it was a qualifiable spot, according to the state's rules, which it's not, then billboard companies would have been after this a long time ago. Okay? So if the city allows, and I know we're talking about city rules here, not state rules, but like I said, you got to have a city and a state permit as well. So it's just extremely unfair and just outside the lines of doing things the right way and following the rules if a billboard permit is granted. I mean, that's why they're rezoning this property. I mean, I can't imagine, because I haven't heard anything about any business plan for any type of building to be built there.
Let me ask you this. If it were qualified to be advertising just for Buddy Watson Park and a low sign and not something that really competes with the public industry, would that be acceptable to you?
Right. It would be different because that would be considered an on-premise sign because the company that I work for are only off-premise advertising structures.
Right. So it wouldn't compete with you and it wouldn't really matter.
Right. If it didn't compete with any other company in our industry, then no, it wouldn't matter.
All right, Pep, real quick, are you guys trying to do a billboard for lease for the city to get revenue from this location, or are you trying to do some sort of sign to let people know what's happening at the park?
Well, I think the city has the anticipation to get revenue from the sign.
I understand now.
Okay. Let me ask this question. Have y'all, you have seen this before, Helen?
I have.
The complete package. Have we had any of the city lawyer or somebody look at this?
We have had them look at it, but that is the state law. It's not the city law. However, they do have to have a state permit to get a city permit for a billboard.
Okay, so you have to have both.
They're bringing this for our knowledge to know that it exists, just so they know that, okay, they're asking for rezoning. It first came up to ask for rezoning for billboard, but supposedly the state's not going to issue a state permit, so they can't get a permit from the city because they're not going to have their state permit. Did you follow that?
No. Why are we here?
It has to be rezoned before it goes to the state. Is that what you're,
Well, it has to be zone business in order for the state to give you a permit to put it on a state route.
Didn't we look at this before? Didn't we look at this item before?
Well, we approved it. We approved it when it was a smaller lot.
Right.
Smaller lot.
And
for
then
B2Q.
obviously somebody didn't do enough homework because we're back. So we approved something that they sent to us that somebody didn't do enough homework.
Mr. Chairman, when it was rezoned to B2Q, it was determined at that time that the state said that parcel is too small. You cannot get a permit on that parcel. You need more land.
Well,
That's
we
when
didn't
they
know that at the
resubmitted
time.
for more
At the
land.
time that was presented to us, we didn't know it was enough land.
Right. We didn't have anything to do with state laws. The planning commission and the city acted on their
Right.
judgment for rezoning. Then it came back, you need more land.
So now this goes to Pep. Pep, you're the engineer, right?
Yes.
So you brought us something earlier that needed some more information in order to get this approved, but yet you presented something that wasn't quite right.
I presented something that
Couldn't
they
get permitted.
Couldn't get permitted, yes.
So why did you do that?
Couldn't
I
get
didn't know.
permitted by the state.
I'm saying, you didn't know that at the previous time that it couldn't get permitted?
I didn't know.
But yet you presented it to us and we approved it. So what does that make us look like?
But these are state laws that we don't have to honor. They're just presenting them so that we know
But
they're
Helen, I
there.
understand that, but the fact of the matter is what we approved was non-approvable because it can't go through the city system.
Or the
Well,
state.
Or the state system. It can't get to the city because it can't go through the state.
Okay, but also what he just stated too, that if a business was on this piece of property for a year, they can go back and get a permit for a billboard.
Very good. So where's
That's
the,
right. And
If
I got
there's
a
a
quick,
plan for a
I got a
business.
question, do we get into what the definition of a business is? I know they sell, snacks and drinks and whatnot at the ballpark all the time. Is that gonna come into play here? Does anybody know the answer to that question?
No, I don't have any idea.
Well, if we rezone
Well-
this as a different parcel, then
well, how do we know if we rezone it tonight that it's gonna get through the items that it couldn't get through the first time?
You don't.
You don't.
We don't. We can't do it until it gets to
see,
that
then,
point.
I got a huge problem with that. To be very honest with you, if you're gonna present something that we don't know and you're asking us to approve something that you don't know is credible enough to get through the system of the state and the city, then why are you asking us to approve this and you don't know those items gonna exist?
Well, pretty much like everything we do, we don't know that it's going to be done until we present it to the proper authority and let them look at it, but you can't present it to them until it's zoned properly. If it's not zoned properly, you can't send it to them. Which is the same reason I bring a development plan down here for the departments to look at it. Now, I may not want a turn lane, but traffic engineering may say, well, you need a turn lane. So, I'm just doing what I was asked to do by the city, rezone this so we can put a billboard up.
The heartburn that I have is that was approved the first time, and I don't understand why we have to approve it again when the homework was not done the first time. And you're telling me now that
This is a different piece of property than the first. You already have within the confines
I
of this
understand.
an approved piece of property.
piece of property that's within that.
There you go, there you go.
Within that
There you
object
go.
up there.
There you go.
We approved that object, that smaller object,
There
but
you go.
now we're asked to approve something else.
Yes.
So is the object that we approved, is that the little white rectangle that's in there?
Yes.
I don't know.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I don't know either, but I'm being asked to approve something that I don't know what is being included, not included. To me, it needs a little bit more understanding from the engineer's standpoint before it comes up here.
If we were to approve it tonight, it goes before the state. The state can either shoot it down as a sham activity or not, based on their criteria. The other question, and I don't know that we can answer this question, is the businessman's question that should I have to compete with different rules against the city? And I don't know that I'm qualified to answer that in the position we are in today. We're here to make sure we have proper zoning, not to solve the issues of whether or not it's fair or unfair competition, which I totally understand.
Helen, help us on one thing. If nothing was done tonight on this item, okay, there was no motion, what happens to the item?
It can be appealed to the city council as no action.
And then they can decide.
Bingo.
Then they can make this determination
Yeah.
whether it's credible or not. But I go back to my original comment. I think it's spot zoning, along with the other items of concern that I have I'm just not in favor of it.
And if it were turned down, it's still going to the
It
city?
can be appealed to city council.
Okay,
Yeah, ultimately, you don't rezone, you just recommend.
right, exactly,
It's the city council's responsibility to zone.
exactly.
Does the city have other billboards that are in competition with private industry?
I'm sorry, I didn't understand. Can you speak into your mic?
Excuse me, I thought I did. Does the city have other billboards that are in competition with private industry that they're
I have
getting
no
in?
idea.
Okay.
We have billboards on Madison Avenue at Crampton Bowl. We have message boards there, so. I mean, I don't know, but I know
But they
they're
don't-
there on our
they-
locations.
But they're not getting income off of that, I don't think. That's just a message board for Crampton Bowl.
Well,
There's some
I don't have any
advertisements on there.
idea. I'm just, they're there.
But you indicated this was going to be a commercial billboard, be advertising Dunkin' Donuts or whatever they want to advertise on it.
I would
Is
assume,
what I'm
yes.
hearing, is what I'm hearing from you or from Helen or from somebody. This is not a billboard just advertising Buddy Watson Park.
This is my understanding, it is not a billboard for Buddy Watson Park. If it was a sign for Buddy Watson Park, they would not need to rezone.
Right. Okay.
So this is the same thing they do in their business?
Is there a third party out there that's going to handle the advertising for the city with this billboard, and they're going through and they have a contract with the city? Is that what's going on here?
I don't know whether they have a contract with the city or not.
Well, I mean, the city's not, it doesn't have the capacity to change out signs and be in that kind of business, so I'm assuming they've got there's another party involved here.
Yes.
Okay. And I'm assuming they're not here.
I know, Helen,
Yeah, he's here.
Oh, well, yeah.
Yeah.
Helen,
Where
you're
is
put in a position that's a little bit difficult, but I'm,
You might want to step up here, partner.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir, absolutely.
My name is Sean Lee, and I've got a billboard business, have for the last 25 years. And that location is clearly a spot zone, and it's being created for the purpose of a billboard, clearly. So the state's got their rules, and I'm here trying to understand why the city is doing this.
Amen.
Why?
Need revenue.
Well, I mean, you asked the question, does the city want to start competing with private enterprise? I mean, all of you are in business of some sort, and, you know, I compete with all these guys, have for 25 years, and I don't mind competing, but we're not competing here on a level playing ground. This location was not a permittable location. If it has, I would have gone after it 25 years ago. And more importantly, you know, my children played there at Buddy Watson. We've played out there in that field.
Sean, let me ask you a question to kind of go along with what you're saying. If this piece of property was brought to where you had an opportunity to bid for it for the site, and John, y'all had an opportunity to bid for it for the site, would that have made a difference?
I would have been interested, certainly.
It's.
But let me make a point. I mean, we all follow these rules. The city of Montgomery has pretty strict billboard rules that we follow. The state of Alabama has strict billboard rules. They're for their interest, they're for our interest. I think the city's opening up a can of worms here. I mean, if you look at this and you permit this, where else in the city can you do this?
Mr. Chairman, this raises another question that probably was unintended, but how did this guy get the contract if nobody had opportunity to bid on it but this guy?
Well, he'll tell us in just a minute. So,
That's all I have.
all right, thank you,
But
Mr.
did
Lee.
y'all get a chance to bid on this project, fellas?
Sir, do you mind, oh, excuse me, I'm sorry, Yeah, go ahead.
I'm just trying to, I mean, this is not our role, but I'm just curious now how did,
We're way off in the weeds
I
now.
know, but how did you win the beauty contest? I mean.
My
Yeah.
name's Neil Bell, 2710 Fernway. I own New South Outdoor. Yeah, I came about it by asking. That's how I came about it. Asking if the city was interested. Simple as that. And I believe the city can lease properties You know, it's actually a franchise agreement that we have with the city. The city's going to raise revenue this way. They're also going to get billboard space to advertise different events and different things that the city's got going on. So,
Okay, so you asked for it and you got it.
negotiate.
If it gets through us and the state.
But no, I don't understand
City
how.
council.
I understand that. I know this has got nothing to do with the planning commission, but how does one person go? So I can go up there and ask the mayor tomorrow to give me an architectural contract for the work that's going on, and I'm supposed to get it without competing? Where's the competition in this is what I'm trying to find out.
Here's the deal. I mean, if the city owns a building and they put it out for lease, someone can just come lease it. I mean, is that not how the city usually works?
Okay.
I mean, that's the way I understood it, and the way that I went about it was proposed it and worked out the details.
Okay.
But if we're talking about the zoning, I mean, that's what we're talking about. I mean, as far as the state, I'm assured by the state that this will pass. Some of what I think was circulated was not quite accurate. What the state is more interested in is spot zoning in this case, and businesses have to be within a few thousand feet. It has to be big enough to accommodate other pieces, other uses, which 2 acres would be. I can't remember the other. I don't have the copy of that. But it does not require for a business to be on that site.
So whose spot zoning are you referring to?
I'm sorry?
Whose spot zoning definition are you referring to?
The state Department of Transportation.
But as far as what Helen just read to us at the beginning of the meeting, does it comply with that definition? The definition that Ms. Milligan gave us.
I can't speak to that, what the city.
And we can't speak to what the state requires. So, right. So why are we even talking about the state?
Well, then let's
talk about what the city.
Let's talk
requires.
about the city. I mean,
yeah.
That's
all we can deal with. That's all we can deal with.
And like Pep
because
said,
PEP doesn't know what the state requires anyway.
Well, we don't know until you take it. You know, you never know what the state will allow, and it's not a final say. I mean, we have appeal. We can appeal if we have issue, just like with any other project, you know, that you'd be dealing with.
So, based on your understanding, sir, do you think this is spot zoning for the city?
No, I do not.
Tell me why.
Like was said, there's other businesses. I mean, and I'm not a zoning professional. I mean, I don't.
So you don't know.
I don't really know. But
that's what the answer is. You don't know. Okay,
but I don't believe it is.
I understand. That's what I'm trying to get to. You don't know. Yeah. So you know what the state requires, but not what the city requires, and we're not dealing with the state. Very good. Thank you.
Okay, Ms. Lee, you want to say something?
Well, I just would add.
Speak right at
again. It doesn't. You don't have to use your imagination much to see that that's not would be classified as a commercial activity. More importantly, I'm not sure the state of Alabama, if it were, would even grant a turn lane right there. It doesn't even have a turn lane. So, you know, it's got problems in a lot of places.
Okay. Any other questions? Any other comments? Anyone else wish to speak?
But, Mr. Chairman, the point he makes about a turn lane, you could turn off of Halcyon. You probably could not have access to 271 Taylor Road. If we allow this to go, or at least put it, you know, push it on through so the city council votes on it, this lot is not particularly qualified for just this use, so it could be for any use in the future. I'm assuming that is under the B2 zoning. Am I correct in that?
It would be, yeah, because there's nothing queuing it.
It's not queued. Well, okay. I mean, the church on the corner across the street doesn't have zoning off 271. 270 Taylor Road has an access management plan. What's out there is all you're going to get. Your access comes off Halcyon.
I get that. I'm just saying it's going to be a different parcel after this zoning, and it could be used for a sign or anything else. They could decide not to do the franchise agreement.
Yeah, you're right.
And I would want to know if there's anybody here that has a problem with that being rezoned to business, because that's really what we're here to decide, not the fairness of the competition as much as I lament, you know, those kind of situations. But if we rezone this to business, is there going to be a problem for that neighborhood or for that park or anybody else that might have an interest in it? The city seems to think not. Is anybody else?
Well, I'm looking at the item and it says that it is be zoned to B2, but if you go to the next page, it says B2Q.
Well,
So it's just a point of reference.
Is that B2Q just for the little white rectangle that's
The very
embedded in that
small
big?
portion is
Yeah.
B2Q. The whole item is presented as B2.
Right.
What next page are you talking about says B2Q?
He's talking about what's on the screen, Helen.
Okay, that's existing. And when it says that's from PGH 35 and B2Q to B2.
Got it.
Okay?
Was the B2Q, was that originally for a sign right there?
It was.
Okay. And that's what we approved before.
Right.
And you could certainly you could cue this.
Yeah.
That's not the request, but that could be your
Well,
motion.
kind of defeats the purpose if you do.
I'm sorry?
Kind of defeats the purpose if you do. To have
They won't be able to get the
commercial
state
property.
approval if we do
This
that.
has to be business.
Has to be a business, it has to be everything that's listed in this state approval.
But, I mean, you can do what you want to do.
No.
Okay. Anyone else wish to speak for or against this? If not, a motion's in order. Is there a motion? One more time, is there a motion?
I would just move to delay this until we get a better understanding of
Your motion is to delay this until you get an
understanding, and I know that Robert and Tommy are not here this time, but I think, I'm not sure what business we're in here. I'm not sure if the cities, if we're getting into the making money off of our land. I know this is not zoning, but I'd like to get some answers before we proceed with this. And hopefully they'll be here next month.
Delay for a better understanding of what?
Of why we're having this discussion here if the state will not allow it. And they should be able to tell us that, why we're even in a commercial
Okay,
business where
who are
we
you looking for
obviously,
to explain that, so I'll know.
where we obviously have decided to go with a person that there was no bid, on this. If we think it's a commercial bid, did we get the highest and best bid?
Okay, I don't think
I understand.
Doesn't fall under the planning commission's authority.
I understand, but I'd like to get some answers on this before I approve it personally.
Yeah, the only thing I have to say is we're talking about zoning here, and we're talking about zoning this back into a B2 zoning that can be used for whatever the city wants to use it for. If there's unfair competition in that, that's at the city's purview. You know, before if we move to delay it, we're going to see it again. If we don't do anything or move to pass it along, then it's going to go ahead and go to the city council who obviously wants to rezone this property into business zoning so they can have the opportunity to have the state allow them to have the sign so they can have the opportunity to either do a franchise agreement with you or one of these other gentlemen now or in the future. And so the question is, do we care if this becomes B2Q zoning? And, or I'm sorry, B2 zoning. With nobody here that seems to contest that and up against a park and it being both of them cities' owned property and the city's not going to cut its nose off to spite its face, I make a motion that we pass this along to the city council. I don't know exactly how to make that motion.
Well, there's two
By
ways.
not making a motion.
There's two ways, but we have a motion on the floor, and you want to state your motion, Frank?
I think
A delay?
I'd like to motion to delay.
Okay. We have a motion on the floor, and that's a motion to delay. Is there a second?
Second.
There's a second. All those in favor, raise your hand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. All those opposed? Okay.
All right, what does delay mean?
It'd be
Delay
delayed
means
till
it
the
will come back next month.
to the next meeting. At the next meeting, what we've got to have from the city is the city to come in and explain to us.
Well, you're gonna
why
have to tell
this
me
is-
who from the city you want to come in to explain some of these details.
The lawyer, the one that never
Okay.
comes.
Okay.
Get them come to a meet.
I think
second
one
that.
of the points, I think one of the points of objections, and Lord knows I don't want to speak to you, but I think he's saying that the thing that we're rezoning doesn't even qualify for the state to get a permit from the state. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And I think that's what we need clarification on. If we're going to rezone it, and they can't, and it doesn't meet the qualifications for getting a permit from the state, then
Well,
really,
James, I do agree with you to a large extent because we've done this before and it didn't work. And we're back now amending something that the engineer clearly just told us that he doesn't know. So I don't like to be involved in a situation like this where all these uncertain answers are out there. And I think that's kind of going back to what Frank was saying on the end, at least from my interpretation. Get a little bit more definition and clarity in terms of what it's going to take to move this project forward. Because quite honestly, Pep, if we approve this and you come back and say, well, the state wouldn't approve it, and then we got to do something different, that really doesn't reflect well on your judgment, in my opinion. And I would prefer to have those kinds of answers in place before you come back here. So hopefully you'll have the next 30 days to get that put in place. Now, I see one of your fellow engineers standing up in the back here. He said, oh, I thought maybe you had something to lend, but that's where I am. There's too many uncertain moving parts that don't come together tonight, specifically on the zoning piece and what is being held out as a state's requirement that we can't pass. So that's my reason for looking at it this way, but I still at the end of the day say this is spot zoning.
and that's one of the other objections that this gentleman had is clarification on spot zoning. And we could bring that to the forefront.
The next time it comes back, though, we should have a statement from the staff. That's what we voted on earlier, as to their opinion about what this is. Correct?
Correct.
Thank you.
Okay, thank y'all.
Yes.
Just real quick, just a quick summary. Yeah, the reason I'm here, there is a plan, obviously, to put a billboard there, but there's no other plan that's been presented. So that's obviously what we have a problem with. So that's pretty much.
Say that again, John.
I said there obviously is a plan to put a billboard on this property after it's rezoned, but there's no other plan like some of you are asking for, a plan for any other type of business.
Well, looks like all you got to do is go ask the mayor. You get a contract.
It's the sham you point out in this that y'all have to avoid in what you typically do. And we understand that. That's not our role, though.
Sure, and I understand that, yeah.
But my point to you is the way this is all going down, the other guy just went and asked, so just go ask.
I'll do it.
Still open.
He's still open.
Y'all share. Split it amongst three of you, third, a third, a third.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
The next item is presented by J.M. Garrett and Son, request to rezone property located on the southwest corner of South Holt Street and Alexander Street from B2 to R60M.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, council members. I am representing Richard Bollinger with J.M. Garrett and Son, representing Kenneth Ward here. And what we have is a parcel of land that actually, I believe, went all the way down to Holt Street went all the way down to Fairview at one time, and it made sense to see B2 come back up in there in the days of Kenneth Grove and all. But now with that cut off because of the environmental park that we have down there in front of it, I think it really makes sense to bring this back to what it should have been and should have stayed, and that would have been some kind of residential area. And so that's why we're asking to change this from the B2 and take it back to a residential piece of property, R60M.
And is the M, is the intention for, when you say multifamily, is that apartments or is that what it is?
As we move forward through this, yes, it is.
Okay.
But it's not apartments, it's actually a quadruplex.
Okay. All right. Any questions, comments? Anyone wish to speak for or against this? If not, motion's in order.
So moved.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Second by Cruz. All those in favor? Okay.
Next item is presented by J.M. Garrett and Son. Request final approval of Kenneth Ward Plat Number 1, located on the southwest corner of South Holt Street and Alexander Street, in a
Mr. Chairman.
proposed R60M.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, Richard Bollinger with J.M. Garrett Son again. What we're taking are these lots that were, some of them were divided off as I-65 came through here, and what we're trying to do is put them all together so we end up with something that's actually usable out there that will meet some kind of setback requirements for any kind of residential zoning. So we would like to put all these lots into a single platted lot.
Okay, any comment, Planning Commission? Any questions? Anyone wish to oppose? If not, a motion's in order.
So move.
Second.
Motion and a second. All those in favor? Thank you.
Next item is
Thank you,
presented by Orlando Durr. Request to rezone property located on the southeast corner of High Street and South Court Street from T4R to T4O.
Mr. Chairman, I'm going to recuse myself from this item, please.
All right.
Good evening, gentlemen. Sergeant Major Orlando Durr with Durr Development. What we're proposing here, the Durr Development Company has purchased a 4-story building located at 10 High Street. It was a dilapidated building for the last 15 to 20 years. Used to be the Windsor Building. My proposal is we're going to put the top 3 floors will be loft living. The basement will be a old school muscle type of cafe, restaurant, and also office spaces on the first floor.
Okay. Any comments or questions? I got a quick one if I could. Helen, maybe you can help me on this one. This was an office.
Yes.
Okay. And when we did the planning of some of the zoning
The downtown master plan.
Was this one that was just kind of gathered in as part of that, like some that we've done in other places? Because it makes, if it were zoned office right now, it would.
Yeah, there's been a lot of areas we found that should not have been zoned the way they were.
Yes, ma'am.
And this being the T4R is very restrictive, and there's a lot of areas we can't use now as the buildings were built for it. So that's why we're going ahead and asking them to rezone to the O for the mixed use.
Okay. Okay. Anyone else have a question or comment, or anyone in the audience wish to speak for or against this? Not, a motion's in order.
So moved.
Second.
And second. All those in favor? All right, sir.
Thank you,
Good luck
gentlemen.
to
Have a
you.
good day.
Sounds nice.
Look forward to that.
Yeah, we all do.
Okay. Number 11.
Presented by Taniki Mays, request to rezone Edna Brake Lucas Drive from a Ag 1 to a B2.
Good evening. I'm new to this. My name is Deborah Earl. I'll be standing here tonight representing Taniki Mays and Focus Point Education Academy. The request tonight is that the property at 13074 Edna Brake Lucas Drive be rezoned from residential agricultural to commercial. Focus Point will be utilizing the space previously occupied by Mount Megg's Accelerated Christian Academy, which is an integral part of Mount Megg's Church of Christ. Because it was a part of the church, there was no zoning requirements. Because we're going through the Alabama Department of Human Resources for child care license to complement the nonprofit private school education, we request that we be rezoned for agricultural, residential to commercial business per daycare by the requirements of DHR requirements.
Okay. Any questions or comments?
Looks like another spot zoning. I just say you qualify it, and so that if this use changes, it doesn't end up being anything that could be in a B2.
Okay. Any other comments? Anyone wish to speak for or against this? Not a motion's in order. You want to make that?
Yeah, I make a motion to approve the zoning, subject to a qualification that limits it for a daycare use only.
Second.
Okay, let me ask you, ma'am, is that acceptable to you?
It's for daycare use, but we're looking for educational purposes. We're trying to further, we do like the after-school services for tutoring and also the further education, like for, it's our goal to have our children like private school. It's like a private facility, not just for daycare, but we are like homeschool.
Yeah.
All right.
All right, let me ask you one more thing.
Mr.
Is there
Chairman?
anything else other than the educational part that you want to put in there?
Mr.
Okay.
Chairman?
You want to restate that, please? Oh.
They already have approval for a private school, so they can do their tutoring, they can do the private school because that falls under the church. A private school, doesn't matter whether it's a church or if it's a private company. That was already approved previously.
Yes, sir.
So
Yes,
that
ma'am,
doesn't
sir.
have to be included in the zoning. She can already do that now.
Okay, because of the church?
Yes.
Okay.
The special exception goes with the land, not the church.
Okay, well,
you
but I
don't
think
have to-
what you're asking for is that she would like that clarified for her purpose. And we certainly wouldn't have a problem clarifying the educational part of it. You want to restate that, please, sir?
Okay. I move to approve the rezoning of 13074 Edna Brake Lucas Drive from agricultural to B2 with a qualification that the zoning only allows for daycare or educational use only.
Thank you.
Okay. Any comments or questions on that motion? Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, all those in favor?
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you so much.
Next item is presented by Ernestine Henderson, request to rezone property located on the west side of Phillips Street, approximately 1,200 feet south of Anthony Street, from R50 to R99S.
Good afternoon, gentlemen. I'm Jasmine Mosley. I'm here representing my mother.
Name and address, if you don't mind, please. ma'am.
The property doesn't have an address, but my name is Jasmine Mosley.
Okay, but where do you live?
Phillips Street in Hunter Station, Alabama.
Oh, give all that, if you would, please. ma'am.
Okay. My name is Jasmine Mosley. I'm standing in on behalf of my mother-in-law, Ernestine Henderson. We're representing property on Phillips Street in Hunter Station, Alabama. We're requesting to have the property rezoned from R99 to from R50 to R99.
And that's R99S for a mobile home.
Correct.
Okay. All right, guys.
Chairman.
All right, any comment?
I need to recuse myself from this one.
All right, sir. Okay, anyone else need to? All right.
Is there any other mobile homes on the street?
Yes, sir.
Is there a reason you want to go mobile home on that site as opposed to a permanent structure? Are y'all planning on not being there long, or?
End up being a permanent structure.
I'm sorry, but you're going to have to give name and address and all that, and please, sir.
My name is Timothy Mosley. My current address is 3143 Range Drive.
Yes, sir.
This is my mother's property that I'm trying to get rezoned for myself and my wife. We're going to get a mobile home, but it's going to be a permanent structure. It's not going to be moved once it's set there.
Okay. Anyone?
I just wanted to follow up on James's question. about the locations of the other mobile homes. Where are they in relationship to your property?
It is one exactly across the street from the property on Phillip Street 69. There's a couple of more in the neighborhood. I will have to kind of look at the sheet to tell you exactly where they're at. I can't tell on this one.
Helen,
Chairman,
were those properly zoned?
No. Prior to 2001, you could go to the Board of Adjustments in the R50 district for a mobile home. After 2001, we were informed that that was not legal, so we started recommending that the people request a rezone to put their mobile home on there, because the only other district you could do that, you could go to the board in Ag 1, but why go ask for Ag 1 for zoning, then go to the board for a mobile home? So we've been advising people to go for the R99S, and there are multiple mobile homes in this particular area.
Are you going to ask if anybody's for or against?
I will, as soon as we get through.
Okay.
You got any other comments?
You know, it's unfortunate that that was allowed, because now you got a mix-up in the neighborhood, and it's hard to untangle a mix-up sometimes. Have you guys looked at the difference in cost of a mobile home as opposed to, doing a permanent structure?
Yes, sir.
What's that? Okay. He says I'm not supposed to ask that.
I don't think we're supposed to ask that.
Okay. It's okay. I'll retract that question.
He retracts his answer. Okay. Any other comment, any other question? Anyone wish to speak for or against it? Yes, ma'am.
Good evening. This is new for me, but I'm 85 Kenilworth Street. I'm Judy Martin Ghostin, and it's a tree that separates our land. Well, I bought my house in September of 1998. I did not know that they went behind me November of 98 and separated the land, but that's fine because I got enough land to live on. My question is, and I'm just trying to get the legal part of it, because I was told that you can't put any more trailers in Hunter Station. Not only that, I was also told that if it's not a plug up already there, you can't put a trailer there. So if that is not correct, then I'm not against the trailer. But if it is correct, then I don't want one there.
Now, who informed you that
Well, some people have tried to put trailers down there, and they were rejected. I had a cousin that tried to put one there. He had to knock my cousin's trailer down to put it on top of where her trailer was, because they wouldn't let him set it there unless it already had plug-ups. So I think that's enough evidence of what's what. But we're all family in Hunter Station, and Tim is basically fine with me, but I just want, if it's not legal, I don't want it. If it's legal, then, and if it's enough room to put one.
Okay. What size is this lot?
It's 126 by, this is the lot here, if I can.
We don't have the...
It's 162 by 125.
It's the one behind the lot. Okay, all right.
He's got a drawing for you.
All right.
Mr. Chairman,
excuse me, go ahead.
At one point in time, we had a lot of applications going to the Board of Adjustment for mobile homes, and a previous councilman had said, we're not approving anymore. That was many years ago. There was never a law or anything passed that no mobile homes could be put out there.
Okay.
But a lot of people just happen to think because of that they can't be allowed, but that's...
But it's also not zoned for a mobile home,
It is
correct?
not zoned for a mobile home, and we did not take it to the Board of Adjustments in the R50 anymore. So that's why you have to come in and ask for the zoning. So now it's up to whether or not the zoning will be approved.
And ma'am, you own the house that would be right
Yes.
behind it. Okay.
Mhm.
And did I misunderstand what you said right here just a second ago, that they bought this parcel of land, and did they buy it from you?
No, they did not buy it from me. What happened, the lady I bought the land, the house from, she's passed now, but they went back and rezoned it. I guess they said, hey, we're not selling her all that land.
I got you.
Yeah, so they bought it from someone else.
I see.
That's
Okay.
why it doesn't have an address, because it was originally 85 Kenilworth Street.
Yes, ma'am.
Uh-huh.
Thank you for clarifying.
And the question she's asking us, are we going to set the course for the future to have more trailers in this area or not? That's the only question she's asking us. So
Right, because if we do one, we need to do them all,
Yeah.
and we shouldn't have to come before a board in order to decide that if that's what we're supposed to do.
Well, you know, the rezoning is the question.
Yes,
That's
sir.
what we're dealing with.
Okay.
Is strictly rezoning on this. They just were telling us what they're going to put there.
Okay.
That's what it happened.
Okay, no.
And I'm gonna, let me make sure I understood what you said, Ms. Golson.
Martin Ghoston.
Ms. Golston, okay, Ms. Golston. You said that you do not object to it, to their putting a trailer behind your property on their property. Is that what you said?
That's what yes, that's what you heard me say. But my thing is, my first thought, I don't want a trailer there.
Okay.
But that's their land. You know, we all family. I don't want to buck against nobody. I don't want nobody shooting up my house and all of that stuff. So if Tim, nice fella, if you all say that's legal and he can do it, then
This is not, and I say this, not trying to be curt, but this isn't a court of law. So this is a zoning issue that either we will or won't rezone that. And so from a legal standpoint, you would have to ask an attorney. And none of us are attorneys. So,
we also have signatures from neighbors that were not
ma'am,
opposed.
speaking, I apologize to you. But
We have signatures from neighbors from the neighborhood that were not opposed to us putting the mobile home in the area, and we also have our deed from the property that was purchased.
Yes, ma'am. Okay.
Mr. Chairman, got a quick question. Is this area in the police jurisdiction?
yes.
It is.
It is? Okay.
It's in the PJ and not in the city limits?
It's in the police jurisdiction.
It's in the city limits.
But there's a difference. City limits, okay. Water, sewer?
Yes, sir.
Water and sewer to the side.
Yes, sir.
Water
my
and
side,
sewer. Okay, so we have water, sewer inside the city limits, okay? All right, any other questions?
So let me just beat this horse one more time. You don't mind them putting a trailer there, per se. It's just, you just want to make sure everything's right. But the idea of putting a trailer there, you don't have a problem with that?
I have a problem with the idea, yes.
Yeah, y'all are. She is saying that if the neighborhood is going to everybody's going to have trailers, that she needs to think about that for the future, and that's the way it's going to be. But if every time that somebody wants to put up a trailer, that everybody's got to come down here with this uncertainty, it's driving her crazy too. She either knows that if it's a trailer mobile home area or if it's not. And so our job is to decide for this particular person if we allow what has happened in the past to continue, which is spot zoning, is changing it from what it is into something else. So this is a spot zoning on a minute deal. She doesn't want to do anything against these fine people that she likes. It's just the fact that it's not legal. Same thing that the other people that were here before us was saying. Y'all, we've got to be consistent as a board. This is not legal here, and I wouldn't move to approve it for that reason.
Well, and at the end of the day, you're not going to like the answer, but it's going to depend on who's sitting up here the next time it comes down.
And see, Mr. Chairman, that goes back
That
to,
could be.
I'm sorry, that goes back to why I asked the question at the very beginning of the meeting. Because maybe this may be one that we get a recommendation from staff on based on the research and the definition of spot zoning, just like they did for the very first item, and then maybe let that process apply itself to this one? That way, it has some foundation versus everybody's individual opinion about what it ought to be or what not it ought to be. We need to have some foundation to make these decisions.
And it creates rifts in the neighborhood.
Yeah.
You guys are nice guys. I've lived in a mobile home. They're fantastic. There's a lot of mobile homes that are a ton nicer than anything you can build, and I get that. But it's not fair to ask people to always be making a decision whether it's allowed or not allowed. That's why
and also, you know, you can get a petition of people, but the thing is, that petition you're getting are not the people that it's affecting.
Right.
And when I say my backyard, that's what I mean, my backyard. And I've been there over 30 years. I rented it first, and then 20 years. But I'm not selfish, you know. I never had no neighbors. I've been in peace and quiet, you know. So, like I say, you want to make, if this is what we're going to do in Hunter Station, we need to do it for everybody. We don't need the ones that then came down here and said, no, they can't put a trailer. Now they want to put a trailer out there to you know, to get it done that way. If we're going to put trailers in Hunter Station, just make it across the board.
All right.
You know, and if we're not,
well, we get it.
All right, okay.
Mr. Chairman, I kind of like we did on the item previous, I'd like to delay this item in order to give the staff a chance to make a recommendation to us based on the definition of the city's requirements for spot zoning.
Is that a motion?
That's a motion.
Okay. Is there a second?
Let me make
Okay.
sure.
And let me ask one other question on that before we,
Go ahead.
the people that are paying for this are these two folks.
I understand that.
Okay? Meaning, so they're the ones that are going to have to tell us, do they want to delay it or do they not want to delay it? Not because of us trying to get an answer to a definition. That's the people that's written the check.
It is by virtue of us either not voting on it or voting against it. It is delayed, waiting on, you know, better spot zoning thoughts from the city here. I think that for the purposes of this, what we're dealing with now, it doesn't comply with current zoning, and it is going to affect the neighborhood. Even though some of it's been allowed in the past, it doesn't mean that it should always be allowed forward. So.
All right, but we do have a motion on the floor.
Yeah, I mean, second under that?
All right, is there a second? Is there a second? Okay. Is there another motion?
I move that we deny the request for the change in zoning and keep it for a residential use with normal, with you know, homes built on slabs.
Okay, is there a second to that motion?
Second.
Second. Okay, all those in favor of denying it and leaving it as it is, and that was your motion. All those in favor? 1, 2, 3, 4. And all right, all those against? There's 2 against and 4. All right, so it's going to the city council.
they have to appeal.
So in other words, yeah, but upon appeal, it will go to the city council. And I'm going to get you to talk with them tonight before you leave, if you don't mind, about an appeal. No matter what, it was a 4-2 vote. So it would have to go to the city council anyway on a 4-2. Huh? No, yeah, no, it was it was no action taken by the board. Okay, ma'am, did that make, Ms. Golston, did you?
yeah, I think that's good because see, that'll help everybody. You know, and like you say, you wouldn't have to keep coming down here. If that's what we're gonna do in Hunter Station,
Yes, ma'am.
that's, you know, it need to be for everybody.
Okay, but
Yeah.
what I want to make sure y'all leave here understanding, this board, because there was only 6 voting members that could vote, we had 1 recused.
Yeah.
It was 4-2, which meant there was no action taken by this board. Okay? Sorry, Does that make sense to you? Okay? But if you don't mind, before y'all leave, would y'all please talk with Helen and let her tell you what you have to do if y'all decide that's what you want to do, that you want to do, to object to it, okay? Or not object, but appeal it to the city council. Okay? Is that, you with us?
Just tell her to see her.
Okay, just
They
see
have
the
the
lady in
final,
the green.
they have the final say.
Okay? All right.
Thank you, guys.
Anything else? Helen, that's it, isn't it?
The next
Oh, we got-
item
Oh, I'm sorry.
is presented by Chris Thaggart, request to rezone property located at the northwest corner of Upper Wetumpka Road and Lucas Drive from R60D to B2.
Yeah.
My name's Chris Thaggart, address 2401 Upper Wetumpka Road. How are y'all doing tonight?
Good. Doing good. Thank you, Chris.
I was approached a couple months ago by a man, Hispanic man, Victor Ramirez Alonso, has an auto care LLC on 5952 Troy Highway, and he is interested in purchasing this piece of property for me for an auto repair shop, and the sale is contingent on the rezoning, and that's why I'm here tonight.
All right, sir. Okay. Any questions from the Planning Commission? Any comments or questions?
Another spot zoning.
Okay. All right. Anyone wish to speak for or against it? Yes, ma'am. Ma'am, would you come up and give your name and address and speak into the microphone, please?
My name is Virginia Nobles, and I live and have lived at 2420 Upper Wetumpka Road for 45 years. So what is the purpose?
Speak into the mic.
Excuse
I
me.
apologize.
Okay.
This is recording.
Yeah, okay. I'd like to know what this will be used for, and I do object to it being rezoned.
Okay.
I stated that in some notes.
Yes.
We have fought the one, I don't know if any of you remember what it was like down at Eastbrook on the corner there. My husband fought that and tried to get that cleaned up for years before he passed away in 2014. And right across from this property is another junkyard. I mean, I went by there. There are over 25 junk cars in that, and tires stacked this high that we're going to be run over with mosquitoes. And to put another one, Lucas Drive is a narrow street, and to put another car repair right across the street from that don't seem logical. So what is the connection between the two? You know, it's a dangerous, when you come out of Biltmore into the Upper Wetumpka Road, the street curves just a little bit, and we have a lot of accidents from speed and people not slowing down when they come through that intersection, and wrecks along there. And it bothers me because I saw a cat sitting up on one of the cars today. And as I said, I watched it at Eastbrook, how the cats came in there breeding, and other animals because of the ditch that's there behind the junkyard that we have now. And we had a raccoon that was rabbited out in Chisholm yesterday. And to put another auto repair shop right across the street in a residential area doesn't make sense to me.
Ms. Noble, if you don't mind, where is your home? From that, can you see it? Can you see
It's 2420. It has a circular driveway. I'm lost now. It's
4 houses up.
It's
4 houses up on the right.
but it's
on the right? 4 houses up.
okay, Lucas, and it's about the 4th house up. And but I've lived there. I have pride in my place, and I can sit in my house or in my yard at night and hear them working late down there till 8 o'clock. The engine's out of the one that's already there, revving and running, and trying these cars out. And do you have the one that I turned in signatures on?
Yes, ma'am, we have that, we sure do.
And so that my neighbors that are there that agree. I know Mr. Larkins has that side of the street where Brantley Lyons has my side of the street, but it's still our neighborhood that I really object to another car repair shop going in there. And on top of that, that house is on the corner, and right behind that house, that lot, is another house, and the fence on the back of that lot is about 12, 14 feet from the neighbor's front door behind it. And on the north side of the lot that he's speaking of, there's another residence, and there's not probably 15 or 20 feet from that lot that people live.
I think I've got a good understanding of this. I think that it's a commercial use going next to a bunch of homes.
Mm-hmm.
And unless you...
Well, let's see, does anybody else has any comment? Sir, do you have anything else to say?
No,
Sir, do you have anything else to say?
Well, right now it's just an empty
Mike,
house.
speak into it.
Yes. Right now it's just an empty house on a big lot, but Mr. Ramirez's business would probably be similar to the one that's right across the street from it. He's not a large auto repair person, but he just wants to establish a business there. He likes the location.
All right,
Mr. Thagard.
That lot is not as big as the one across. And the house should have been torn down 35 years ago, just to be frank. It has not been kept up.
Mr. Thagard, did you talk with, I know this lady right here objects to it. Did you talk to any of the other neighbors, the ones right next to the houses? Did you talk to any neighbors in the neighborhood? Do they object to this?
On that, there's a house that just sold that's right next to it. They don't really have an objection. The house next to them, I think, has been vacant for the past 10 years. Doesn't have power. There are several others that are powerless. They're just sitting in that neighborhood.
Okay.
But the neighbors I've talked to, a handful of them, they didn't mind too much. They know me.
Okay, thank y'all. A motion's in order.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we deny the request to rezone this property.
Okay, motion to deny. Is there a second?
Second.
Second.
There's a second. Any comments? All those in favor to deny? Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank y'all. All right, could I ask one favor, please? The last update I had on the Planning Commission, and this is the little sheet that gives by name and gives by date of appointment and term, all that. Can we get that? I know there's an update. Would you email each one of us a copy of that, or please? Thank you. Anything else? Okay, we're adjourned.